Hello, my name is Colby Taylor, and I have been given an assignment to talk about different things about COVID-19 and how it's impacted the whole world. So, first, I started off by thinking, what did I want to look at? And I came up with I wanted to look at the difference between Georgia and Kentucky as far as COVID cases and the different mandates that each state has put into place and see if these mandates play a role in how the cases look. So, first, I just started by looking at a global tracker throughout the world. As you can see, it's affecting the whole world, it's not just us. Um, in the US, there is an abundance of cases compared to the rest of the world. Um, Although I didn't use this as much in my paper or much of my research, I wanted to focus on the United States, especially the two states, Georgia and Kentucky. Um, so I have a view of the United States. As you can see, the areas with the bigger blue dots are the states that are more at risk, have the higher amount of cases. As you can see, the top states are California, Texas, Florida, and New York. So I went and broke it down by state and used a color-coded map to show the hot areas of the country and the not so hot areas of the country. Again, as you can tell, California, Texas, and Florida were all the top three that have the most cases in the country, and then right behind them would be New York. So I really wanted to dive into Georgia and Kentucky because I am from Georgia. That's where I live. Chose Kentucky because I am here for school and I'm living here, and from being here last year and being sent home from school, I experienced COVID in Georgia and how it plays out there. And I've also been back here, so I've seen how it plays out in Kentucky. So I thought it would be a good idea to compare to see if there's something that one of the states is doing different that is causing the COVID cases to be different. And in this graph, as you can see, Georgia is the red line and Kentucky is the blue line. It's no surprise that Georgia has almost 3 million more COVID case positives in the peak. And now, recently, as you can tell, both states have declined in cases, with Georgia at 2,376,692 and Kentucky with 837,321 positive cases. Although Atlanta is a big cause in cases for Georgia. There's a high population around the area. And as you can tell between Georgia and Kentucky, the trend seems to be the same. I mean, when Georgia's cases go up, so do Kentucky's. When they go down, so does Kentucky's. And they look to be on the same trend. So I decided I wanted to look further into different mandates that were put in place by the states and see if any of these have any effect on why the states are so different. So the first mandate that I wanted to take a look at was face coverings. So as we look down to Georgia, they have no face covering requirements. When you look down at Kentucky, they do have face covering requirements. And this is something I was able to experience myself, and that's what made this more interesting. I wanted to find out more about why, and I was back home from March to August, and there was never a mask mandate. I mean, citizens of Georgia can go out and not wear a mask, and back here in Kentucky, it's a mask everywhere you go. So obviously, this could play a huge role in why there's so many more cases in Georgia rather than Kentucky, is because people in Georgia do not have to cover their face and could cause some transmitting to be going on. So after the face coverings, I thought I would check into restaurant limits. In Georgia, their restaurant limits are full capacity open indoor and outdoor dining. There's not any limitations on it. And when you look down at Kentucky, they are open but with limits. They cannot have more than a certain capacity of what the restaurant can seat. So again, you can see that in Georgia, there's no limits on it at all. You can come and you can go. While Kentucky, you can only have so many people in there. And also, back to the mask, at Kentucky restaurants, you have to wear your mask to your table and when you're leaving. And this could also be a reason why there's not as many cases, as there's uh, more of a caution with face coverings. After restaurant limits, I wanted to check out large gatherings. This is the one that really threw me off when doing my research, because as you can tell, the last two mandates, it seems that Kentucky's taken a much more strict approach to the coronavirus, more so than Georgia was. But when you look at the large gathering ban in Georgia, you can have up to 50 people in a large gathering. When you look down at Kentucky, there's no limit on the large gatherings. So this threw me off because of the other mandates. I expected Kentucky to be strict with large gatherings and Georgia not to be strict, and it seems like it has flopped in this and flipped the other way. So this one really threw me off. So what I came up with was that Georgia seemed to be higher cases, and one reason that I have not mentioned is population differences. In Georgia, the population is 10.4 million people, while in Kentucky, it's around 4.468 million people, so roughly 6 million people greater in Georgia. And that's could be a key contributor to why there's more cases. And I believe that is from the research I looked at and from being there. You can also say that it could be the bans on restaurants that could have helped Kentucky more so than Georgia, and also the face coverings. Um, so after looking at these, I also wanted to look at mandatory quarantine for travelers that were coming into each state. And in Georgia, there was never a ban on quarantine for travelers coming into the state from other states. They did not require a quarantine period. When I look down at Kentucky up to date, it has been lifted. There is no more requirement for quarantine for travelers. But I will say, when I did come back into Kentucky, I do remember I had to quarantine for 14 days before I could go around campus because I was coming from Georgia. So they did have a mandatory quarantine from certain states for the travelers coming into Kentucky. This also is another key contributor to possibly higher cases in Georgia than Kentucky. I wouldn't say this is as much of a problem as no masks and open limits in restaurants and also the population. So what I've gained from this is this virus is crazy. It's affected every state, no matter who you are, how many people you have, and that is all I have. Thank you.